Ready.
1 second to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome you to Uganda National Catholic Council of the Laity Listens and Speaks series. And this is the 42nd series, 42nd talk in this series, in the spirit of synodality as the church is giving us direction. We are looking at several themes that are assisting our people to get moving. Today evening, we have the pleasure to host a professional counselor, a professional teacher, a family woman. Name it. We have Mrs. Olivia Kisubika today evening. And basically is going to deal with a very important subject today. Ladies and gentlemen, as you're aware, the family is everything. The family is everything for society, for the church, name it, for any nation. But there is a crisis that is going on daily and daily. Equally, the same in schools. Do we need lay counselors? How do we handle the rising crisis? Today evening, Mrs. Olivia Kisubika is going to do the needful for us. And we are ready, she's ready to share with us as a professional counselor, her experiences and how best we can tackle certain issues and we see the way forward. You're most welcome, Madam Olivia Kisubika. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matega. Good evening, viewers. And yes, do we need the counselors in our society? This is the question. Are they appreciated? What do we do? What is the way forward? Should we let the crisis go on? Because right now, in my opinion, as Olivia, yes, we need counselors. And yes, there are many counselors in Uganda, but Ugandans either don't appreciate them or they can't afford them. They can't afford to pay for the services, or they don't want them. Meaning they don't want to share their challenges. So that's where we are, Mr. Matega. That's where we are in Uganda, both in the families and in the schools.
So we are handling a theme of a rising crisis in the family. Can you give us a glimpse of what it means that there is a rising crisis? What is the crisis really in the family and in the schools?
The rising crisis.
Yes, because if you are to appreciate the professional counselor, first of all, is there a crisis to be handled?
Yes, there is a crisis.
So that is it.
There is a crisis. The families, if we look at all the families, we have issues therein. We have unwanted families, meaning you end up being a family, you have children, that's a family, but you are not prepared for the children. You have the children, we are prepared for the children, you're even married, properly married, and then somehow you get misunderstandings and one of you wants to move out, or you just can't continue. Then where do you leave the children? That's a crisis. Then we have the unwanted children or getting children when you're not ready. That's a crisis because you're not ready for that child. What is a crisis? Unwanted child. The unwanted child knows that it is unwanted right from the womb. So you bring him into the world, it is a challenge because both of you don't like each other. Why? You were not ready for each other. But remember, the child did not have a choice whether I want to come into the world or not. That's a crisis. Then separated parents, they live a crisis. Many times they leave the babies behind. Either the mothers leave the babies behind, or the fathers leave the home. That's a challenge. And that's a crisis. Why? We have so many unfathered children. Of late, we even have mothers leaving the homes. So that's a challenge. Because when somebody doesn't grow up with a mother and only grows up with a father, or doesn't grow up with a father and only grows up with a mother, there are challenges therein, causing a crisis. So we need to curb some of these challenges. Can they be curbed? Yes. If there is a marriage counselor and talks to these married people, they would keep together until death does them part. Okay?
Yes.
Then what about the unwanted children? How prepared can a person be to get children? Okay, so that there are no unwanted children. So all these are challenges. Even we got a challenge when AIDS took many parents. That was a challenge. Nobody was prepared to be an orphan. Okay, so where are the children? On their own. What are they doing? The relatives tried to step in. They couldn't. Why? Because they also had their own challenges in their own homes. So that is where we are, Mr. Matega.
Thank you very much, Madam Olivia. We're talking about a crisis in the family. The family is changing from what we used to know as the traditional family. Today, so many things are coming up. The parent is no longer doing his roles in one way or another. He's leaving it to the priest, to the church, to the school. So there's always a continuing crisis. Here we are, we came up with COVID and everything. Now we want you to go practical. You as a counselor. Yes. If you're really in this, I wouldn't like to call it a business. People come to you when they're having crises in the family, crises in their schools and everything that comes up. We need practical aspects of what really the crises are that we are going through, and how best the counselor comes into play, and how best he can assist or she can assist. So given your long-time experience as a counselor, as an educationist teacher, professional teacher, that's where I want to go. Can you give us that direction, please? Thank you.
If we begin from the school, the children normally come from school and they are sent home. And they are sent to a counselor. Why? Indiscipline, as we call it. Then you trace the child back, not from the day he comes to you. You have to go back right up to childhood, upbringing, who was there. And so we are left alone, daddy is not there. And then what is the issue? I want my father. I know where he is. My mother doesn't allow me to see him. That is a challenge. Okay, and normally the solution, which we try to work out with the parents, is agree on when the child can see the other parent, the missing parent. But normally in this category, the firstborn children are victims. Remember, during the good days, the child is everybody's child. Now, with this separation, who is going to take the child? The mother stays with the child or the father stays with the child. Whichever side, the child will miss the other parent. I prefer to call it the separated parent syndrome. Why? Because it is there and it is killing the children. And it is making them stubborn. Why? They want attention. They expel them. I want to go to my father. And the mother says, you will not. Or I want to go to my mother. And the father says, you will not. That's a challenge. So we have somebody stubborn, deliberately stubborn. Why? Because there's a need that has to be filled. Remember, parenting is supposed to be done by two people, the father and the mother. So once one is missing, so you have to calm the student down or the child down and just portray what he's doing to his future. Okay? And then just brew some sense into him, and also then to the parents, they have to be there. Okay, and you tell them this and this is going to happen unless you style up.
According to your explanation, it seems the schools are handling parents' problems.
The schools, that's why I actually tell them that when you get a problem child, ask them to visit a counselor. Why? Because there are challenges therein, which have to be resolved before. There's so many cases. Look at a case of a bright student, and all of a sudden he's dull. The results are poor. And then the child is told, many of you who have not met the pass mark, you'll be discontinued.
Mhm.
Then they call in the parents to give them that information. Okay, then the parents decides they ask them, you talk to a counselor. If he was performing, if he was A class in primary, then why is he
C class,
Z class?
Z class.
It can be as bad as Z class.
Yes,
And then when you sit with a child, there is abuse.
abuse.
Yes, because the parents separated on a very bad note.
Mhm.
The child, wherever he has stayed, whether the mother or the father, there's one abusing the other one who is not present. And of course, the child is hurt emotionally. So parents out there, I just ask them, particularly when there's P7, S4, S6 candidate classes, kindly don't separate. And I might appeal to the parents out there, kindly don't separate when you have a candidate. For that year, remain good. Why? It traumatizes.
For that particular year.
For that particular year, no separations.
So every year, if I have got a candidate,
No quarrels in the house, no nothing, because they impact on the child directly. I wish I could also tell them, don't die. I wish I could,
yes.
because the results are just on the plate.
What is your experience following the COVID time? The family and the schools, and what so far your experience has been since that time?
The family, there's no school fees for the children. Even the provisions are hard to get for the
During
family
COVID?
members. No, after COVID.
Mhm.
During COVID, nobody knew what was taking place, but to the children, it was kawa. It was time to groove. And then it was loneliness. Why? Because you're not supposed to go out of the gate, and and everybody, the children just got lonely.
But that's when we're at home as parents.
You were
that's
at
when
home, but the
available.
parents don't know how to be with their children. That's what we discovered. They don't know how to relate with their children for such a long time.
So what advice as counselor? I mean,
We need, I tell the parents, kindly get me time, because I need Olivia time.
that's the child now speaking.
No, that's me speaking. I need me time as Olivia time. Even daddy needs daddy time, his own time. But the children need children time. The parents should create time for the children. As a group together, depending on how many you have. If you have 8 like my mother, then you have to create
Time for the 8 children.
for all the 8. If there are few, which is a better case, but at least every child needs 20 minutes of your time. Like you're only 2, like we are here with you.
Yes.
This Olivia Anthony, even that's Daddy and David, Daddy and Joan.
Yes.
And you listen to their small talk.
Mhm.
Okay, that is bonding. But the parents, even during the holidays, there was, what do you call it? Zoom meetings. And in fact, they didn't know how to relate with them. And why is it that they didn't know how to relate with them? Because they are all suffering from TB.
Too busy.
Too busy.
Yes.
Okay. Now, because they are too busy, they failed to bond with them when they were young. Okay. Now they are mature. They don't have conversation. They can't judge with them.
Well, that's a real crisis.
Making it lonely for the children.
Mhm.
And yet they were not supposed to go out to other homes. Why? Because of the COVID. Okay. So they were stuck in their gate, in their houses.
Madam Olivia, we're in a situation whereby we have to look for money. I leave home at 6 in view of the jam,
Yes.
go to my place of work or wherever I am, and I return at around 9.
Yes.
The mother is also a working mother. I mean, we need to get that extra shilling to enable our child to be wherever he is in a school. Now, how do we balance the two? The ability to look for the means of livelihood, that's
Yes.
the money,
Yes.
and the ability to be with a child, and she feels or he feels that really my parents are there for me. So how are we balancing? Because in the traditional family, usually the mother was around and available.
Mhm. In
This time
family,
around,
no, we are also
you were
looking for
a
the
working
money.
mother.
We are
is a
looking
working
for the
father.
money as well.
So how do we handle that? Because it is a fact of the life today.
Initially, before COVID, initially it was that bad. Everybody had to be out there. And it was compulsory, 8 to 5 for everybody. Then jam inclusive, you have to get home at 9. But today, all the workplaces I know of, they have, what do you call it? E-work, okay? You can work from home, okay? That is good. I wish all parents would arrange that type, would get that type of arrangement for their families during the holidays, because the holidays are around the corner.
Yes.
And it's a short time. So the children need to see the parents. Jam on everything, we should get some days. You can work from home, is there a meeting? After that, chill with the children. And chilling with the children means create time for them, roll on the carpet with them, go out and play on the grass with them. That is what the children want. If you can do that for the young ones, you're already bonding with them. Now, the coming adults, the upcoming adults, the adolescents, that's where the problem is. That's where the challenge is. Why? Because you were not doing it previously, so they don't know you. You have to start.
Starting.
Yes. You have to start. All the parents, everything can be, there's an end to everything. And there can be a beginning to everything as well. Okay? Start a conversation. Have a 2-minute something. Not in the house. Not you pointing. It is them, give me your feel. What do you think about this? Give me your idea. Get the words from him. Okay? Not you, do this, do this, do this, don't do this. No. They shut down on you. And you can actually see a child shutting down on the parent.
Shutting down on the parent.
Like, you can talk. When you finish, you tell me. They have that attitude.
So now that's your role. You come in to intervene.
You come in and say, why can't you talk to them? I said, don't talk to daddy because, and they give you their reasons, by the way. Parents out there, please pay attention. These children can see. They see a lot.
And listen a lot.
And listen a lot.
And
one thing I urge all parents, not just .com parents, but parents, try to be as private as you can.
What do you mean by private? What do you mean by private?
As parents, as marrieds, they should be private. We have a crisis today in adolescence, and COVID just raised its heights, but it was there, a silent one.
Yes.
But now it's very obvious. The children, the students, the pupils, the students, meaning the primary kids and the secondary kids, they're just sexually alert. And not just alert, they're sexually active.
Alert and active.
Alert and active. Now, what is happening in the schools every other day, every other week? You can't have a school expelling a couple every week, every other week. Okay? Then they call in the counselors, come and talk to them. Then they just put down the books and say, let us talk to the students class by class, so that you have a week we are discussing sexuality, the do's and don'ts, as per the school rules. And you came here to study, not to get married, as we say.
Yes.
And then 2 weeks down the road, again, you
get another case.
Not just one set, 2 sets, 3 sets. So we have, for us, the counselors, we are tracing it back
to the parents, to
the parents. You ask a parent, and many times I ask the parents, At what age should a baby leave the bedroom, the master bedroom?
Mhm.
And what do the parents say?
Yes. I don't know.
Just, you don't know?
Oh, you're asking me that
I'm
at
asking you as
what
a
time
parent, not now, but as a parent. At what
Yes.
age
should?
the baby leave the master bedroom?
I think by the age of 1 year, he should be leaving
1 year. We have 2 years. People give you 3 years.
in the bedroom.
One
a,
even
child,
told me 5 years.
a child in a bedroom
Yes,
of the parents.
of the parents.
Oh.
Even 1 year is late.
Maybe that is arising out of the fact that we are having so many single parent families. The mother and the child, single parent. I don't know.
No, not the single parent. It's the parents, the stable homes, as we call them, the properly married couples.
Yes.
Okay, they want their children, their babies to stay in the bedroom.
Yes.
Out there, my appeal to all the parents: 6 months, kindly get the babies out of the bedrooms.
6 months.
6 months, and they push them to the other bedroom. And of course, all the parents out there, I know I can't even hear them.
But we're in a Muzigo, rated
In a Muzigo, then that is bad news.
It's another crisis again.
It's another crisis.
Yes.
Because for them, their children, even in their schools, you can feel it that these people are because of where they live.
Madam Olivia, let me bring another aspect, which I think that's now becoming a crisis. Of late, the issue of DNA has come up. DNA. It is disturbing the child. It is making the child an alien in their own families. I don't know whether you have come across such crisis, and at the end of the day, it ends up whatever it may end.
It affects the person. Everybody is traumatized by the child. The end result is different. Parents, you're killing these children while they are still on earth.
It's not my child. Why is he? I mean.
So how are we going to resolve it?
Now, as a counselor, give us that advice.
As a counselor, we are telling you, don't go to it.
You don't go to DNA?
No.
Wow.
Because they know.
That?
Unless you're ready to traumatize that child. But the parents need to know, or the men need to know, or yes, it's usually the men who need to know. But what do you have in mind?
And that's why I'm bringing forth this important question. I've come to know that she's not my child, but she's the mother. This
is my wife.
Yes, and the mother of my children. But this particular child is not mine. So I continue on going through that trauma, personal as a father, for example. I'm aware that now that's a clear sign of dishonesty somewhere.
Already the trust issue.
Infidelity.
Trust is broken.
So now there's already a crisis. So how do we handle
that crisis? Is killing is going to kill the children while they're still alive.
Yes.
Okay. And the end result is, like some authority was saying, may bring them up. You never know. That might be the child who will be there for you in your time of need. It's an arrangement you have to come up with as an individual, not for your sake, your selfish sake, but for the sake of that child. Because we all say the child is innocent. Okay. But how do you roll it out to him? By the way, the children are very understanding, but they need to be taken through it quickly. But don't come back from the DNA. Don't come back from one day and then you just start beating the child that you're not mine and you throw them out. That is unfair. And that to the parent, you do not deserve a glass of water tomorrow when you cannot afford it, and me, the thrown out child, can afford it. So how you roll it out to the children matters. And to my fellow women, what is the problem out there? Can we talk about it? Can we prepare the children mentally for what they are going to tell them? To give them a soft landing. That is all. Because it is there. The crisis is there. Okay? But the children need a soft landing. Okay? So what do we do? Does the child have a choice?
But putting the burden to me, and the moment the child knows that I'm not his parent, his father, for example,
Mhm.
naturally he would be interested to know exactly where does he belong.
Exactly. That's the soft landing
Now
I'm telling you.
he starts, who's
How
my
do you
true
open
father?
it? How do you introduce it to him that I am not your father, but mommy says, okay? But like you've been you're rolling on the grass, you're playing football with, and you're there chilling.
Oh, it is easily
That's
said
what I
and
call
done.
the soft landing. That is all they need,
Yes.
because you have to tell them. And I prefer you tell them when they're young, not when they are men with their children and grandchildren. Somebody was told grandchild that it was not that the grandchild was not the grandchild. Do you know that type of arrangement? No, they deserve to know. But how you break it out to them?
At the end of the day, people are preferring to keep silent in order to save the marriage, because the moment he knows or she knows that that's the end of the marriage and the family. So,
but then I prefer you tell the child yourselves, you the parents, other than the neighbors telling the child.
that you don't belong
Because
there.
when there's a crisis, when the neighbors tell the child, then the child is lost and the child wants to find his
Where he
parents, his father, okay? And his next of kin, okay? And then that would be indiscipline in this home, you get. But if you prepare him and say, I'm going to get somebody who will do this for you,
Oh,
okay? And then you agree with your friend, with your wife, or with the mother of the child. How are we going to handle this? Okay? But the child you listen to the child emotionally. The child will say that you don't give me away. But I'm telling you, she grows up, say, Dad, what if you introduce me to my dad? You know, that is the soft landing I'm talking about.
I said it is easier said
It
than
is
done.
easier said than done,
Yes.
but I've seen it, I've worked through it, and I have
You've got practical experiences.
practical experience. Before even the DNA came up,
Mhm.
there were practical experiences and people who were given a soft landing.
So we would recommend people who are going through such crisis that
It
Madam
is,
Olivia
how are you going to do it? And then you start working out steps of doing it. But now it's been made easy for the women because the men are rushing to the
DNA.
to the DNA, and
Yes.
that one is also not good. So I would advise women out there, you better spill the beans before somebody runs and spills them. It will be worse. But maybe when you find him in a good mood, and spill the beans.
Of late, there have been so many cases of suicidal tendencies within some schools, and in the former years, you could hardly hear a young person committing suicide. And of late, you hear a case here, you hear a case there. What is bringing about that crisis?
The children have no alternative. They don't have, so nobody is giving them a solution. And it's the easiest, what they can afford, what they think of, and what is ready to do immediately, think about it, is suicide. Why? Because why we want the parents to be involved in the parenting, active parents, you bring in challenges, or you talk about challenges that prepare the child mentally for such events.
Yes.
A good example is talking about death. Yes, you're also wincing. Talk about death. I'm sorry, but like,
what about this now coming into
death can happen, and death did happen.
yes.
Okay, it did happen widely. So now every child knows about death thanks to COVID. But there's also death by accident, death by illness. Somebody is ill, but still the children don't know what the parent is suffering from. They don't know what may happen. I think that is unfair. Prepare the children mentally for the eventuality. Start talking about it. The brain registers it. Then emotionally, they start dealing with it. Okay? Then they start asking you what will happen if that eventuality comes in.
Yes.
Then you say her school fees will not be, that type of arrangement. Okay? So we need to talk about these things. we need to talk about, for example, we need to talk about thieves. In my time, it was thieves. Okay, what do you do in case a thief comes in? Okay, what do you do in case somebody rapes you? Talk about rape and how to avoid rape.
Defilements.
Defilements. Defilements, I prefer to use defilement in-house. The word defilement in-house. Why? Because I don't see, we shouldn't have any rape in the house. You've defiled. Rape is for the outsiders on the street.
Oh.
Those are the people who rape you. To me, because this is defiling and you should be hanged. If you defile your daughter, you defile your,
that's abuse,
your
sexual
step.
abuse.
That is sexual abuse.
Did you go through such crisis when, owing to COVID, your experience in schools of sexual abuse and assaults?
It wasn't sexual abuse. No, it was the children. It was the children involved in sexual sins. Okay. And what was most unfortunate or fortunate to us, the counselors, is they were recording themselves on their phones. You remember they had phones. So they were recording themselves. So we got a chance of knowing, and the parents knowing what is actually going on in their homes. Those parents the upcoming parents will know that yes, such things can happen in their homes. Incest was rampant during COVID. And what is happening in school, it was transferred to the schools.
What was happening in the home was transferred to the schools.
Yes, we used to do this. My brother taught me this. My sister taught me this.
Dear viewers, we are going for a break in the interest of, so we shall be returning on the same topic. We are looking at the crisis in homes, in the families, and in the schools, and how a professional counselor can intervene. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we can do. We are off air. What we begin with?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, our dear viewers, and those within this particular series. As I've said, UNCCLA Listens and Speaks series take place every 2 weeks, and we discuss a particular theme. This time around, we are discussing the crisis in the family and in the schools and the roles of professional counselors. And Madam Olivia Kisubika, an educationist and counselor, she's doing as good today evening in respect of her personal experience as a counselor, as we've said, what is happening exactly in schools, how do we handle, what are the crises in the families and how we handle. Madam Olivia Kisubika, possibly we continue on with this particular, as you are explaining to us before we went for the break.
Okay, we looked at the sexuality as a crisis.
Yes.
Let's look at the economic crisis.
Yes.
We have economic example that the father goes to, practically the father goes to the bank, gets money, mortgages the home, doesn't tell the woman. Okay, and then what happens? The bankers come for the house. And this child just eavesdropped and started planning, how am I going to save my mother from this? Okay, because the mother is, her comment was, my mother is a home mother. She doesn't work. Now we are going to be homeless. Where shall we live? Why was she sent home? Because of poor performance. And why is she performing? Why was she performing poorly? Because she has a crisis. She carried that crisis from home to school. Her plan is, how can I help daddy in this without mommy knowing? That's a crisis.
So how do you get moving from that?
How do you get moving from that? You see, meet them, talk about it. I told the father, your child knows the secret, knows your secret.
Concerning the loan and
concerning the loan. Said
yes.
She can't. They say, I told her, she knows. I told him, the child knows. Get the child, get the children to pray. My solution, by the way, for that one was, let the children come in. Okay, let the children talk to Jesus about it. And the loan was paid off, but the child spent the suspension at home. It wasn't supposed to be like a suspension, but it became 1 week long. Why? Because daddy did not want to tell the mother, and the child was insisting, let mommy know. And we start praying.
So prayer is covering up for the...
It does. I mean, God is able. Okay, at least that time, God was able to get a solution for the man, and they still have the house. Okay, but that is economic crisis. Another economic crisis, COVID. Many of the children at home. Some were forced to change schools to relatively lower or cheaper schools. Why? Because the income of the parent reduced. Okay. Crisis, economic crisis. How do we help the parents cope with a financial crisis? Mm-hmm. Okay. Most of the most affected in this category is the men.
Yes.
The men don't disclose their challenges. The male counselors are there and they can assist, but they stick. And what happens? It kills them. Abrupt death. Postmortem, stress. Guys out there, stress kills. Some of these things, let us pray about them.
So prayer is substituting the role of, I know prayer can be, so it is substituting the role of, I don't know.
Of the counselor. Do they know how to pray?
Well, that's what we want to get from you.
This is, you take them through, you try all the options, okay? But financially, if it's a financial crisis, yes, we can deal with it. It's there. You find room for it in the Bible. Okay, the waters, Isaiah 43, the waters won't swallow you. They won't swallow you. You kneel into that, and Jesus paves the way. He normally paves the way where there seems to be no way.
And normally.
So men out there, please don't die. There are usually solutions. Okay.
The crisis of, I would like to call it a crisis, retirement.
I am telling everybody out there, after office.
What next?
After office, what next? What next? You should plan for what next when you are at your desk. Mm-hmm. But it's another crisis that has greatly affected Ugandans.
Retirement.
Retirement.
So we should never retire.
You should retire. Everybody has to retire. I left teaching and moved into the business world. Okay. When they retired me, I was angry. I was very angry. I felt like going back to teaching. But then I said, the moment you start driving backwards, then you'll never go ahead. So you make a decision, you choose to go ahead. Okay.
So,
And then I went into counseling, and then I am on my feet again. But you have to have plan B. Ladies and gentlemen out there listening to us, kindly have a plan B and a plan C. For the ladies, A and B are okay. For the men, plan A, B, and C. Why? Because you are the men. You have to look after us. You have to look after the family. So you have to have plan C while you're at your desk. So you come up with something. How do you come up with what else I can do? What you're doing, I suppose, is academically, you were qualified for that, fine. But there is you, the you. What else can you do? Or within that, what can you, within your profession, what else can you do? I took up counseling because as a teacher, I was seeing a gap. Why are the children behaving like this? Okay, then I went into counseling. So you need to choose, you need to decide, but now. Don't start preparing at 60.
you're already too late.
It's
at
already
60.
too late because the later, you know that they are going to conduct their exit interviews. And exit hurts, whether you're prepared or not, it hurts, depending on your sentiments about your current job.
Yes.
So you have to prepare physically, get something to do, economically, but also emotionally, let go. If it's not your judge's job, let go.
Even if it's your judge's job.
No, your judge's job, you have some shares. You can remain there as a shareholder, but I've seen shareholders being thrown out with me. Even shareholding is not a guarantee.
Yes.
Okay, so the moment you know you are employed, tomorrow you might lose that job. Where are you going to sit?
So that's another crisis.
That is another crisis. Actually, that crisis is the biggest, is the one that has hurt Uganda a lot today. COVID created that.
Even before COVID,
No, retirement was there, but these people were not yet, they were not ready for retirement, but COVID threw them on the streets.
yes.
Why? Their companies, their organizations just shut down.
Had to restructure and
They had to restructure and they had to grab around. Some actually closed. So
unfortunately,
everybody should be prepared for it.
I can't get access to the chat room. Possibly some viewers out there, ladies and gentlemen, those outside there, Little Lamb, you can access the chat room and maybe give us some comments, which may be right now in the chat room for the good of this interview and this dialogue. Thank you.
Not as yet.
Not as yet. We maybe continue as we.
Another crisis which I want us to look at, and it comes from home.
Yes.
Appreciating work.
Appreciating work.
Work as in work.
Yes.
Okay. And then appreciating what your child, knowing what your child can do.
Yes.
We've come out with degrees.
Yes.
When we didn't even know what we were going to read at university.
University.
You find them filling forms and you say you don't know what you're going to fill out. That is unfair. And that comes from the parents.
How does that come from the parents?
You should know by senior one.
Yes.
What your child is wants to be tomorrow.
Well, when we were at that age, everybody wanted to be a pilot, everybody wanted to be an engineer, everybody wanted to be medical.
Nurture them in what they want to be. But I'm telling you, can ask the parents, 50%
don't know what their children
don't even know. I think even 70% don't know. And they'll grapple, they'll find that something to do as they go on. That is unfair. That is unfair. Groom them, nurture them into what they want to be.
So at the end of the day, it constitutes into a crisis for the future of the
It
child.
does. Most of them, the graduates are on the streets because what they read and what they are doing
A word apart.
and what they love doing are worlds apart. They will never meet. They will never meet.
What I read,
What
what
you
I'm
read,
doing,
what you're doing,
what
and
I
what
want
you
to-
love, what your passion.
Mhm.
They are totally different.
Okay.
So when they will never meet, they are parallel. The roles remain parallel. So she sits in the office and she can't report on what she's doing. Why? Because she doesn't have the interest for it.
In the interest of time, as we are winding up this program, I wanted to put up a certain question. What we'd call not baby teenagers, but adults that are failing to grow. And at the end of the day, you see a young man at the age of 30 still at home or in the boys' quarters of his parents. That's why I'm using the word baby whatever, baby adults.
The baby adults, did you prepare them for the outside? Did you push them out? That's why we have parents, some parents pushing them out,
What type
throwing
of
them out.
preparation naturally as a man, I should know that after university, my parents have done what they're supposed to do. It's high time we get moving.
Some are busy, like they come, they even want to be alone, they even want to do their nonsense. But there's some who are, their temperament is, I'm not interested in anything.
So at the age of 30, I have to give you counseling that you're supposed to getting out of your father's home.
Some need it. And then they will say, I'm not ready. I'm preparing. And they keep on preparing until you throw them out.
Wow.
That one happens and it is rampant. Okay? But what causes that? Somebody was telling me that it is accountability. They don't spend. They were not held accountable to their expenditures. Pocket money, you know, some parents actually do. How did you spend your pocket money? But it's my pocket money. But okay, they fear to spend out there. They run out of their checks. You get they before 15th of the following month, their checks have run out. So what happens? They can't survive. Then they come back home. Okay, eventually they cannot pay the rent. Then they come back home. Now getting them out of here when you are buying the food, unless you stop buying food or you also go abroad and you leave them in that house, then maybe they'll wake up.
Dear viewers, we are very grateful for the insights that have been provided by Madam Olivia Kisubika as a professional counselor and educationist. We are very happy. As we said, this series takes place every 2 weeks and we pick upon a particular theme. As we are going through different crises, both at the job, in the family, in the schools, it's quite very important that we know where we have to get recourse to. And therefore, I would urge people that let's use the professionals. Yes, I'm not lobbying for her, but at least I'm aware she's doing a good job in several schools. We should not throw our children to the schools to do the parental role or to the church. The church, of course, will do its role. The schools will do their role. But even at the end of the day, even the parents need to be counseled.
Even the parents need to be taught how to parent.
To be taught how to parent. I think that's another crisis we are going through. We are very happy. Unfortunately, I couldn't get access to the chat room. However, it has been a very good time for us today as UNCCLA. And we wish you the best through, and we look forward to the next series. Thank you very, very much. I remain Anthony Matega, Vice President of Uganda National Catholic Council of the Lay Apostolate. May God bless you and have a good evening. Thank you.